Hello and welcome to Ukraine Today. I'm Volodymyr Solokhub. We're currently at Odesa Security Forum. And right now, to talk about the Georgian experience in dealing with Russian aggression, joining me now a former Minister of Defense, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and former Chief of Intelligence of Georgia, Mr. Gela Bezhuashvili. Mr. Bezhuashvili, welcome to Ukraine Today.
Thank you, I'm glad.
So, Mr. Bezhuashvili, Georgia, unlike any other country, knows very well what Ukraine is currently going through with the war in eastern Ukraine raging for almost 2 years, with occupation of part of Ukraine's territory, with annexation. Can you tell us how did Georgia deal with that back when you faced the same aggression?
Well, it's very unfortunate what we see now in Ukraine, and that means that those lessons were not learned from the Georgian experience neither by us nor by Ukrainians, neither by the wider international community. Because what happened in Georgia was a brutal violation of international law and the principles of international security and the European security that we built together for many, many years. And this is a very unfortunate development, but what we need to think about is what happened that happened. We need to analyze why that happened, but the most important is what's the way out of it. Because in our experience, the Georgian case, besides the fact that we fought war against one of the largest nuclear countries in the world, and it was a short one, but the war was not important. The roots of the conflicts were important. So there is a need of analysis why in 2013, 2014, the conflict, the war, aggression, and occupation of Crimea happened. It didn't happen in one day. So I would suggest that we do, probably together, the analysis why that happened.
Well, it's pretty clear. What Russia did is it used the moment when the country, when Ukraine, was at its weakest point, when there was a change of government, and they just brutally violated all rules of international law. But you said we should have, Ukraine and Georgia and the international community should have learned the lesson out of the Georgian case. So in your opinion, what could have been done differently in Ukraine not to prevent what happens?
Look, when you see the pattern of behavior from your neighbor, which everybody clearly saw in Georgian case, if I were in Ukrainian shoes, I would say, hey, alert, that could happen to me too. So that's something that I think in the recent history of Ukraine needs to be rethought, rethinking is needed, because in 2008 it was very clear. It was very clear that Russia will do everything, including invasion, in order to preclude the countries in their periphery, in their influence zone, as they believe, into integration into the more attractive institutions, EU, NATO. So that was a lesson that we just missed, I think, in Ukraine. So what happened in Ukraine was not, again, a one-day decision. It was planned operation, and you're right. They choose in a moment at the weakest point in Ukrainian command and control system when they invaded Crimea and created enclave for the further pressing Ukraine. So I mean Lugansk and Donbass. These enclaves are for long. It's just a leverage in Russian hands. We've been living through it for many, many years, so we know how it works.
Do you see similarities between South Ossetia and the Donbass region, which is now being under the control of Russia-backed militants? And do you think that the same fate which South Ossetia had is waiting for the Donbass region?
Well, you see, in all cases, there are differences, of course, and specifics and contexts. But in general, it's a copy. It's a copy-paste scenario from 1992, 1994, 2008 into Ukrainian case. Also with some specifics and some context differences, of course.
Can you tell us what was the reaction of the people, of Georgians, when this brutal invasion happened back in 2008? Because for Ukraine, one could say it was a bit easier because they knew that Russia is capable of that, like for Ukrainians, for the people of Ukraine. But for Georgians, it must have come as a complete surprise. How did you cope with that?
Well, there are a lot of sympathies, tremendous, I would say, sympathies in Georgia to Ukraine. Because we felt, when we were in trouble, we felt the Ukrainian support. We had Ukrainian pilots who were evacuating the civilian population from Abkhazia-occupied Sukhumi, for example, back in 94, 95. We remember it. The people remember it. We remember those fighters, those Ukrainians who were fighting for our freedom. And we pay tribute to it. A lot of Georgians expressed their will to come and fight with the Ukrainian soldiers for their land, for their sovereignty. So there was a lot of sympathies. And the major point is here, the Georgians understand that the fate of Georgia, the fate of, if you wish, post-Soviet space, is being decided here in Ukraine. So Ukraine battle for freedom is not just Ukrainian case. It as Georgian, as European, as global as it is. So this is my point. Ukraine should not be left alone. We need all stand together. This is the only way to resist Russian attitude.
And Ukraine obviously is feeling that support both from its Western partners and from the partners such as Georgia.
But it's not enough. It's not enough. The point of this conference yesterday and today is do more. Ukrainians must do more.
What more should be done?
Ukrainians must do more, first of all, because there are two aisles of this. One is internal strengths of Ukraine. Without strengthening institutions, fighting corruption, strengthening the governance, and improving the governance, Ukraine is not going to succeed. If Ukraine does not succeed, international community is not going to make a job on behalf of Ukraine. So first row is, and the first priority is Ukraine must do the job. The secondly, when Ukraine does a job, the international community, United States, European Union, collectively, unanimously must support financially, logistically, militarily Ukraine. Because here the fate of democracy, the fate of the freedom is being decided here in Ukraine.
Mr. Bezhuashvili, you were part of the government, of Mr. Saakashvili's government, which made tremendous reforms in Georgia. A lot of Ukrainians now look to Georgia as an example of the so-called miracle. You were able to turn the country 180 degrees almost overnight. Whereas this doesn't seem to be the case in Ukraine. It's been 2 years since the Euromaidan revolution, 2 years since the new government is in power, and still not much has been done. Those reforms which are being implemented are on a very slow pace. So what lessons can Ukraine learn from the Georgian experience, Ukrainian government?
Well, this is a point. We are proud of what we have done. And Georgia now on the absolutely right track in developing and improving the governance. I mentioned the government several times because this is a key. Open political institutions and open extractive economic institutions. This is a key for Ukraine's and Georgia's and any country's success. This is being proven by history of democracies. Why democracies are successful? Why you have a failing states and you have states with a similar basically backgrounds, one of the countries are doing better than others because they learned that the key is institutions, key is openness, key is open economic institutions and the environment that gives equal opportunities to everybody. Ukraine needs to do a lot from this point of view. So this political process that goes on in a country, not interfering into internal affairs of Ukraine, of course, but taking into account our experience, suggestion is unite your political forces to one goal. You are waging a war against a large country. And let's put it bluntly and let's put it in the right wording. It's a war. So you are in a war, but regardless of that, you can win this war only when you are strong, when your society is strong and united around the idea that nobody but you, nobody but Ukrainians will do the job. That's our experience. It was one team that was basically one team around one idea, that we need to take this country out of this trouble by ourselves. And this is easy said than done, but at least our experience suggests that it is right.
Yeah, it looks like still a lot of job ahead for the Ukrainian government. Mr. Bezhuashvili, many thanks for finding the time to talk to us and sharing your thoughts. Really appreciate that. We were discussing the Georgian experience in dealing with the Russian threat and reforming the country with the former defense minister, former minister of foreign affairs, and former chief of intelligence, Mr. Gela. I'm Vladimir Sologub. Thank you for watching Ukraine Today.